Welcome to the Modern Stock Car East Coast Regional and race number 2 out of 20. We are here from Homestead, Miami Speedway for the running of the Hellmann's 200. On the pole today is Julio Cruz in the number 36 Chevrolet. To his outside is the number 42 of Avery Radford. So, of course, yesterday we had, or not yesterday, but the other day we had the Bonefish Grill 250, which was the season opener for the MSCECR and a brand new beginning to this series, and hopefully what will be a recurring thing throughout the years where we visit different parts of the country in our regional series, because hopefully once we get to season 4, we'll have a Midwest regional, and then by season 5, we'll have a West Coast regional, and so on and so forth. However, we still have to get through season 3 and this first. Of course, the Bonefish Grill 250 had mixed reception from fans and drivers alike. Some fans weren't too happy that there were 40 laps with no cautions whatsoever, and barely 2 cars got damaged on the racetrack. That would be Jacob Thibodeau and Zay Williams, who made contact on lap 16 after Williams was leaving pit lane and made a weird block on the 87, sending both of them into the wall and giving Thibodeau engine trouble. However, this is a little bit different. Homestead is a really fast track. It's a 1.5 miler that's shaped like a little bit of a bigger version of Dover. If we can take a look at the wide shot of this track. I mean, look at this thing. You can see there's the roval layout in the middle there. It's an absolutely fast track, and it used to not be all this way because before Homestead added their banking in 2004, it used to be sort of like a flat track, like a larger and wider New Hampshire. And the MSCCT in Season 2, they ran a race that I think was 100 laps. It was at Chicago Motor Speedway. Now, this is not Chicagoland. It's Chicago Motor Speedway. It was called the Granger.com 400, and that was the first ever career win for Carlos Rex. And you know, that was really interesting because I was going to say, and I said that during the broadcast, that it was a larger New Hampshire because it had not flat banking, but pretty close to flat. I think it was 5 degrees at most, but it was a 1.5 miler compared to a 1 miler, and the pit road was in the same place as it was at New Hampshire. So that was an interesting race in total. I believe there were about 5 or 6 cautions, including a weird rivalry between Carl McKinney and Greg Shetner, who got tangled up multiple times, and it was sort of like a payback where, you know, I'm going to wreck you and then you're going to end up wrecking me back. So that was kind of how it rolled. But this track does have lights. We do kind of have an interesting setting. As you can see, the blue sky is out today. However, that might change because this track, you know, we're sort of setting it where the sun might set during this 54-lap event, and there might be a few different events where we see the sun start to set and these lights will actually start to mean something. But we have about 30,000 fans in attendance today. They closed off some of the other seating sections near turn 4 because they're doing some renovations to the track, so you can't blame them on that. But we have about 32,000 fans. 32,762 is the total that I'm being told as of this recording. But yeah, I mean, they got the front stretch bleachers, and really there's not too much besides that. I mean, there's some of the seating up here for the VIP pit pass pavilions, and you don't really count too much of that, but our field has expanded, if you didn't notice. The 29 of Ronnie Martin is making his first start today. He's starting around mid-pack. And then you also have the number 56 of Matthew Green, who's starting just a few rows behind Martin next to Chris Lattimore. So that'll be an interesting thing for us to see. And for the rest of this race, I don't know, because you know, we have some interesting starters up front. As you can see, the 7 car of Winnie Calhoun, who won last weekend's race at Daytona for the Bonefish Grill 250. He's starting near the back today, but that doesn't really matter because anybody can really just shift from the front to the back and from the back to the front. You know, vice versa, all of that. It's all fun and games. So that, with that being said, it will be interesting to see if Calhoun can get some redemption, or if we'll see another first-time winner today in the MSCECR for our second event, the Hellmann's 200 from Homestead, Miami Speedway. Of course, when we get rolling, we're going to look at the starting lineup. We have 54 laps of exciting racing. Expect 3-wide racing all the way. It's going to be pack racing until the bitter end, and that's exactly what I can just tell you. Let's look at the driver command from Daniel Rivera's view.
Drivers, start your engines!
Just like we talked about the transporter. To the end of pit road, the last pit box is a timing line. So the last white line on pit exit is the line. 6 thumbs up, my friend. Have a good time.
Let's take a look at the starting lineup. Row 1, we have Julio Cruz and Avery Radford. Row 2, we have Daniel Rivera and Tony Shopping. Row 3, we have Gauze Martinez and Sam Joseph. Row 4, we have A.J. Jones and Will Fasano. Row 5, we have Corey James and Mitchell Carter. Row 6, we have Alex Nielsen and Brad Stover. Row 7, we have Deku Manes and Jay Bird. Row 8, we have J.J. Yu and Jacob Thibodeau. Row 9, we have Ronnie Martin and Eli Sassak. Row 10, we have Osigo Bear and Jeff Jeffrey. Row 11, we have Zay Williams and John Hunter Nemechek. Row 12, we have Luis Aguilar and Richard Birmingham. Row 13, we have Chris Lattimore and Matthew Green. Row 14, we have Vinnie Calhoun, last week's winner, and Rusty Shackelford. Row 15, we have Greg Shetner and Vincent Crook. Row 16, we have Stewie Moore and Darian Armstrong. Row 17, we have Allison Rain and Dan Wilkins, Allison Rain and Keon Daly. And then we have Dan Wilkins, Leland Hill from the UK, and Ryan Adama to wrap up our 37-car field. Homestead, Miami is a unique track. The progressive banking definitely helps. But we're going to see some really interesting pack racing on this 1.5 mile intermediate. Julio Cruz looking for his first career win. Same with everybody else in this field except for Calhoun. With that being said, headed back off of turn number 4, Cruz and Radford up front. We have a green flag from Homestead Miami Speedway. Looks like Will Fasano is going to jump to that inside line. He's going to try to make a pass on Sam Joseph and the rest. We'll see if that comes to anything. Oh, and he makes contact with A.J. Jones, or I should say A.J. Jones made contact on him. He got a little bit loose off of turn number 4 and just made a slight bit of contact on that right rear. So maybe the 97 and the 49, they didn't really make any sort of moves during the Bonefish Grill 250 at Daytona last week, so I don't know, maybe it was just a case of the 49 getting loose and the 97 not having anything to rebound, but regardless, Julio Cruz still leading, although he is going to hold off Avery Radford. Daniel Rivera trying to get a good run on the inside line in that number 2 Dodge. Will Fasano on the outside line now. Or excuse me, that's Jacob Thibodeau. When you see those two 97 and 87, they're so close in the paint schemes that you can barely tell them apart, especially when they're running close together. And there's Tony Shopping as well, darting for the outside line. They're going to make it 3 wide back here. And A.J. Jones, again, not exactly in the best spot coming off of 4. Maybe it's just something with his, style of racing that he's not that good when it comes off of 4. I mean, he's a little bit all over the place, and he is running 4th. So whatever strategy he's using, it's not like it's backfiring against him, but my worry is that if it causes a wreck, it's going to cause some pretty hurt feelings between these drivers out here. As Mitchell Carter looks like he was sort of dive bombing it and then moved up to the middle of the track, because if you're going that fast into the corners, he makes contact with Brad Stover there off of 4. If you make, that big of a dive bomb into the corner, you're eventually going to have to move up the track a little bit, and that's what gives Brad Stover that door to try to move into the inside. Mitchell Carter running 5th, though, as Stover is trying to steal his thunder and take home that top 5. Still early, though, as Carter is able to, for at least a short period of time, cut off Stover, hold his line. But that very well could change with, Carter being a little bit dicey. Although the top 5 have really solidified into a single-file pack. That's Cruz, Radford, Rivera, Jones, and Carter in your top 5. And then the rest of your top 10 is Stover, Joseph, James, Bird, and Fasano. As Rivera diverges from that little single-file pack there. He was train racing at Homestead for a little bit there, as looks like he's going to settle back in the line, although Carter's not satisfied. He's going to try to make his move. from the 5th position. It could mean a lot. Let's see what happens with the 88. Well, maybe nothing's happening there, but Avery Radford looks like she's going to try to make a move for the lead. Cruz is not able to clear the 42, although there he is able to. Does he cut her off going in the 1? I don't know. He's holding his line and she's holding her line, and nothing's really budging, but it looks like that Cruz is going to hold off Radford coming off of 2 here on lap number 8. Although we are going to see some positional changes as they're 3 wide for the 5th position, or excuse me, the 4th position. Rivera, Carter, and Stover all battling for that spot. As Fasano jumping to the inside. Now Rivera, if Stover's able to clear Rivera, he'll fall outside of the top 5. As, you know, we were talking about earlier about how the top 5 was really train racing with Cruz, Radford, Jones, Carter, and Rivera. But now that's changed because now it's starting to evolve into sort of side-by-side racing, as Avery Radford could lead her first lap here. Barely. I think she got it by less than 1/100th of a second. Let's take a look at our board here. That was 4 1/1000th of a second. I remember there was something at Daytona, I believe it was in the Cup race, where it was 1 1/1000th of a second. I mean, talk about absolute insanity there. Imagine if that was the last lap. Reminds me of the MSCSS finisher last year at Daytona, where Winnie Calhoun won the championship over Ward Burton. He didn't win the race, but he had to... I mean, I'm pretty sure you're familiar with how our championship format works. Whoever has the best finish at that championship track wins the championship, regardless of how many points they had going in. So he had to beat out Ward Burton, and he ended up doing that literally by 4 1/1000th of a second. And I gotta tell you, that's incredible. I mean, that's probably going to be the closest championship finish you're ever going to see. Now, of course, the MSCSS was sort of a temporary stand-in because it was something that you could use to sort of make it a bit of a mix of a fantasy league and also a throwback to those Gen 4 cars back in the mid-2000s. And that's exactly what kind of happened there. You know, we ran at super speedways, we ran at some of the most absurd fictional super speedways out there, like Pigs Creek and Thunder Bay, and I believe even at, what's that? Zen Joltis, that track up in upstate New York, about an hour north of Watkins Glen. Absolute insanity. 4 miles, I mean, yeah, it's a fictional track, but it's still extremely fun to race on because it's just this mega thing where you could make Zen Joltis into a city if you wanted to, with the insides being the perimeter of the city. But on lap number 13 of the Hellman's 200, race number 2 in the Modern Stock Car East Coast Regional, Avery Radford leads as she overtook Julio Cruz, and now Julio Cruz is back in 3rd after losing that spot to A.J. Jones, and Mitchell Carter's back in 6th. Daniel Rivera's back in 5th. And not much else has changed except for the lead, and this is a good battle here between Julio Cruz and A.J. Jones as Brad Stover's coming into the picture in that number 83. They're going to be 3 wide coming off of the corner, with Cruz getting the better of the 3. He moves back into the 2nd position. For green flag pit stops, if we see them, they might come around lap 25 or lap 30. Not exactly sure what exactly that number is going to be, but we're definitely going to see that fuel window start to be around a halfway point right about now. It's A.J. Jones still holding his line on the outside as Sam Joseph got a little bit loose. Got a tad bit loose off of that apex in the corner. Now he's going to lose some spots. He was 7th the last lap, and now he has fallen to 8th, although that wasn't nearly as bad as I thought it could be. Could be much worse, though. He could have gotten caught up in a wreck and taken out a whole bunch of folks. Cruz back in 2nd. Looks like he's going to be able to clear the 49 of A.J. Jones. It's definitely a good thing to gauge here for the rest of the race, as Cruz, who was the pole sitter, could be the first guy since Keon Daly, which was race number 8 of the MSCSS, to win from the pole, at least in the lower level. I can't think off the top of my head who was the last guy to win from the pole in the Cup level. If I'm not mistaken, it might have been Carlos Rex at that Chicago race that I talked about, which was race number 17 in Season 2. But the last guy to do it in the MSCSS was Keon Daly, who's now running in the 18 car instead of the 19, and instead of running in the front and winning, he's running in 30th, 2 seconds off the pace. Although he's not even off the pace, he's just in the back of the pack. There's not even anybody who's off the pace. Everybody's hanging in there. Everybody's staying where they are. Yeah, Greg's running last, but who says that a caution can't change that? Or even a good green flag pit strategy. Who says that can't change that? Radford and Cruz side by side off of the corner. To the line. Radford still leads, but not by much because she's not able to clear that 36 car. Look at Cruz slowly getting back. He's going to get up to that left front quarter panel, or that wheel well out there. Stover's going to get a run. They're going to be 3 wide off the corner to Stover, make a slingshot pass for the lead. He's got no draft help. Radford still leads. Cruz second. Stover third. She's really going to have to pull that outside line and make it stick, but I don't think that's going to work, as Julio Cruz on lap number 20 is going to take that lead back from Avery Radford. It's now A.J. Jones getting back into the second position, and A.J. Jones might go for more. Cruz is not going to be able to clear Jones, at least going into 1, unless he brake checks or makes a mistake. As Radford really falling back outside of the top 5 now. She finished that last lap in 5th, but she's probably going to finish this lap 7th, 8th, or even outside the top 10 as Ronnie Martin makes his way into the picture, along with Gauze Martinez and Richard Birmingham as well. A.J. Jones right on that inside of the 36. The inside line has been a little bit better. Not too much, I will admit. There's not too much of an advantage on the inside, but it is there. As Radford, as I said, is now in 10th after leading most of those last few laps. Now she's back in the thick of the rest of the pack, battling with Jay Bird and Tony Shopik. Daniel Rivera going to the inside, possibly going for a lead change here. Does Jones get a good run? Apparently it's good enough to take the lead. Oh, that is so close. That might quite literally be a tie. Yup, that was a tie at the line. Wow. If you want to talk about really close battles, these guys are literally tied at the line. Starion Arnsdorf running that outside line. Really not getting where he wants to be, but now Radford back in 11th. Obviously not where she wants to be. Let's take a look from the hood of the number 29 of Ronnie Martin making his MSCECR debut tonight. Martin running inside the top 10. They're going to be 3 wide for the lead again. Here comes Rivera on the inside as Eli Sasak gets 4th down. Cruz still leads, but Jones giving him a tight hold, and Rivera coming into the picture in 3rd. Now Rivera backs off a tiny bit. But Jones is going to be able to clear Cruz, I think. Jones might be able to clear Cruz if he gets a good run on the backstretch going into 3. With Gauze Martinez again coming into the picture. And A.J. Jones will clear everybody and lead that lap by 0.08 of a second. Now, that doesn't seem like a big gap, but that's probably one of the larger gaps that we've seen all day. It's not even 0.1 of a second, but this is how intense the racing has been. As Will Fasano ducks to the inside. In fact, he's going in the pit lane. So green flag pit stops might just be starting right here. Is Fasano the only taker? Yes, he is. Or, excuse me, that's not Fasano. That's Jacob Thibodeau. Fasano's still running up there. He's still running inside the top 10. Yes, he's in 10th. As Gage Martinez almost led that lap, but now he's back in second. And now we got most of the leaders coming in. And we're going to almost see a spin, or we are going to see a spin. I guess not. That was very close, though, to something disastrous. As Tony Shopik, as you can see here, or maybe not because our camera glitched out a little bit. You can see Mitchell Carter hooked the 23, sent him right into the left rear quarter panel of the 15 car. Not what you want to see, but green flag pit stops are underway about midway through the Hellmann's 200. There's Thibodeau leaving pit lane. We have some takers still out on track. And here comes the rest of the leaders. Julio Cruz, Brad Stover, Will Fasano, Avery Radford, Corey James. Looks like Sam Joseph staying out. Interesting move, whether it's bold or incorrect, I don't know, but he is going to lead this lap. If it gives him at least some laps led, that's a good thing. As Winnie Calhoun, who won last week's race, he's moving into the second position. Here's the race off the pit road. Watch some of these leaders come off here. As the second group comes in, I mean, as I told you, here comes the sun setting a little bit here on Homestead Miami Speedway, as it looks like Joseph and Calhoun are coming in. But this is exactly what I talked about. We start during the end of the day, then it transitions into the middle of the night. Well, not the middle of the night, the beginning of the night. Sunset, dusk, whatever you fancy, whatever you want to call it. They're still scoring Sam Joseph as the leader, although I don't think that's going to actually matter, as Julio Cruz is going to get cleared by AJ Jones, who on our scoreboard is currently running 18th, although that will probably change as it comes along. Although Jacob Thibodeau might gain a lot of spots, if I'm being quite honest. He might gain a lot of spots here if his pit strategy was effective, although he does have a little bit of damage on that front end. He's running 4th now. Yeah, look at that. He's got some damage on the front. AJ Jones as well. Jones also has some front end damage. Did he get a little bit jacked up on... He didn't get jacked up on pit lane. He's just had this damage. And it's never been pointed out. So I'm going to go back as far as I can. If I can even see it. Is it here at lap 18? Oh, it's there. He must have gotten scraped up and I didn't see it or whatnot. Because it can't be just a feature of the car. I mean, all the way back in lap 12. And he's got it. I'm not even going to question it. This will be a very good run for Jacob Thibodeau, though, as... Yeah, they both have front-end damage, and they might be able to make it work. Jones... Looks like the entire top 5, they're going to go into train racing. We've gotten word from race control that if there are no incidents by lap 40 to get the pack caught back up to speed, we're going to see a competition caution on lap number 40. So that'll probably get us to green with about 10 laps to go. Well, now we're going to see Gage Martinez and AJ Jones. Ooh, almost contact there. Jones trying to clear Thibodeau, and Gage trying to overtake Jones. He's able to clear the 87. The question is, does the 6 of Gage Martinez make that move on Jones? And does Martin go to the inside, or Birmingham for that matter? And Julio Cruz, the pole sitter, back in 6th. Really close to the line. Not as close as before, but regardless, that's 2/100ths of a second for any other racing division. That would be considered extremely close. But now Gage Martinez getting an opportunity to lead his first laps with 21 to go from the Hellmann's 200. I mean, the top 6 is pretty packed together, and then the rest is pretty isolated. We have all 37 cars on track, and all 37 are on the lead lap. The last place car, which is Dan Wilkins, he's running a little bit slower than everybody else. However, I don't think that he's actually excuse me, having problems with his car. I just think he's not running as fast as the rest of the pack. He's in 37th and at number 33. And Jay Bird, there must have been something that happened, right? I mean, there must have been something that happened, because he has that cover on, or that could have been as a result of when they went to pit lane. Oh yeah, that's what happened. I missed some of that, where Jay Bird got really scraped up on pit lane. That would explain a lot. Okay. My apologies. That does explain a lot, though. As we have a spin, Julio Cruz and Gauge Martinez up in the wall. Coming back down the track is Cruz. And now we have our first caution, so that competition caution that we had planned is now voided, as Ronnie Martin is the leader. Thibodeau second, and Thibodeau third. So, okay, so we were just a few laps away from that competition caution, and now that is voided now that there's been an incident on the track. And this was with the lead pack too, so I would have completely noticed this if it wasn't for me, you know, looking at other views and other helicopter cameras and whatnot with the other incident. But you can see right here, they're 4 wide off of 2. That's not really going to work. You got Gauge Martinez on the outside, and then Cruz and Jones in the middle, and then Richard Birmingham all fighting for the third spot. So it looks like they make some contact here, some slight contact, and then they keep banging their doors. You know, they keep making some contact, and then looks like Jones just ends up going into the wall, taking out Cruz, and I'm sure Jones has the least amount of damage from this, but they both smack the outside wall. Cruz with his right side door, and then Sam Joseph barely missed it. Joseph just barely missed it. Oh, Jeffrey barely missed it. Oh, look at that. I mean, take a quick... I have the wrong camera angle. Look at that, if I can get a good view. Look at how close that is. For a perspective, let's take a look from the hood of the number 51 of Alex Nielsen to see how close he was. He was running 25th, pretty far behind the rest of the pack, but you can see this was pretty important. Man, that was close. And we also saw the same with the 31 of Sam Joseph. So, take that as you will. But our first caution voids the competition caution that we had planned for lap 40. So race control has officially called that off. And again, my apologies for not seeing that crash when it happened. At least I cut away back to the action when the crash was happening. Because, you know, as somebody who is not actually at the track, I mean, you can't be at the track in this situation. But, for obvious reasons. But... you know, when you're doing something along these lines, when you're looking back at a replay, you always have that risk of having something happen and you not knowing it. Because if you're back in the, you know, the past when you're looking at the replay, then you don't know if a spin has happened because you don't hear the skid marks. Because you're hearing exactly what you hear from the last, you know, the last incident. But Jay Bird looks like he's going to be the last car on track. He's in 37th. And I don't expect any of the cars from that tangle up to be out of the race going to the garage. Because Cruz and Martinez, yeah, they hit the wall. So are they going to be competitive? Probably not. But will that matter? I don't know. It is going to matter for this front pack, though. Because, you know, it's... like, they were running in the top 5 when they wrecked. Martinez and Jones, they were all fighting. When they were 4 wide off of turn number 2 on lap number 36, they were all 4 wide. Birmingham, Jones, and Jones didn't even go to pit lane. Speaking of, are Cruz and Jones still on, or Cruz and, no, they're out on the track. They're going to be running 32nd and 33rd because Shopik, Manez, Wilkins, and Bird are going to be behind them. I don't expect Bird to be competitive because of the fact that he's got no hood on his car and some front-end damage as well, so take that as you will. But we're under caution for the first time in the Hellmann 200, and think of it this way. That was the first caution of the entire season, and it came more than halfway through the second race. That tells you something about how conservative these drivers are, racing style, where they're not going to be that aggressive. And we've seen some instances where they are aggressive, but they've gotten really lucky with not wrecking, and this is where it all comes to a breaking point, and they end up spinning out, getting a little bit messed up there, and causing a caution. Pace lights are off. That means we're going to go green this time by with 14 to go on lap number 41 out of 54. Your top 10 right now is Ronnie Martin, Jacob Thibodeau, Richard Birmingham, AJ Jones, Mitchell Carter, Brad Stover, John Hunter Nemechek, Will Fasano, Sam Joseph, and Allison Rain. That's your top 10. And then fighting to get into the top 10, there's Daniel Rivera back in 13th. He's going to be trying to get into the top 10 since he was up front for a little while. He was trying to get into the lead. Didn't lead that many laps, or didn't lead for that long, but still, he's trying to get back into contention. There's Ryan Adema not having the greatest start to his season in the MSCECR. He didn't do too good in the MSCSS. He just seems to be better suited for the top levels, just like how Jimmy Johnson was really good in Cup. He had 7 championships, but was he ever good in the Busch Series? Not really. He was known for crashing into a tire barrier at Watkins Glen and known for doing a few one-offs for Hendrick Motorsports and never getting any wins. But Ronnie Martin, looking for a first here, he could become the first MSC, or I should say in any division, MSCCT, MSCSS, MSCECR, MSCRE for that matter, to win in their first career start. That would be a first that we haven't seen in this league before. We've seen Doug Doering win in his 3rd career start because he debuted at Charlotte and then won 2 races later at Pocono in the Comcast 500. But regardless, the green flag will fly. 14 to go from the Hellmann's 200. Heck, Eli Sasak almost won his first race, which was the Figure 8 Derby. He led 5 laps. He was the first person to lead at least any laps in their first career start, but he didn't end up winning, and that was Arthur Xavier who got his first and only win. So Cito Bear on the right side of your screen there got a little bit pushed, as Jacob Thibodeau is going to take the lead. Talk about a rebound. He was the first guy to come in the pit lane, and he also was one of the last guys to finish at Daytona because of the fact that he had some front end damage after tangling up with Zay Williams. Now he's got a chance for his first win at any level. Richard Birmingham, who finished 10th at the Daytona race last week, looking for a top 10 here as well. Mitchell Carter trying to deny him that, and he's trying to deny him even second place as he runs into that second position. Thibodeau with a comfortable lead. That was about 2/10 of a second, or 1/5, whatever measurement you want to use. John Hunter Nemechek getting into the 4th position, and Ronnie Martin starting to fall back a little bit. Is he going to be able to rebound? And if another caution comes out, this essentially resets the entire playing game. Birmingham and Carter essentially tied at the line by 1/100th of a second. That's all that separates them. Does Nemechek get a good run on the inside here and make a pass over Mitchell Carter? You can see those skid marks still there from when Cruz and Martinez tangled up. Speaking of them, they're running a little bit back there, but they're still hanging in. Thibodeau back to the line, 10 laps to go. Ronnie Martin makes an aggressive jump to the inside to try to make it 3 wide for the second position. I think he might have even sent Mitchell Carter a little bit loose. I don't know if that's the mindset that he's willing to do, or if that's the mindset that he wants to accomplish. Carter trying to clear Martin. Oh, and Nemechek and Martin almost made contact. Martin now moving up to 3rd. Carter still holding his line in 2nd. Now Nemechek's going to make that pass for 3rd as Winnie Calhoun, last week's winner, look where he is now. He's in 7th. 7th place for the 7 car. As it looks like they're mostly single file back here. You can see, yeah, they are mostly single file for the most part back here, and Jay Bird is way off the pace, but see, at this time, Jay is about 10 seconds off the pace. Nemechek now solidly in 3rd, and Martin in 4th, the top 5 starting to dissipate from each other, although Nemechek could be making another good run. They're 3 wide behind him. That's Sasak, Rivera, and Birmingham battling for the 9th position. That'd actually be the 8th position that they're going for. As Winnie Calhoun moves up to the 6th position. They're just powering through. Here comes Carter trying to make a good run on the 87. 88 minus 87, that's number 1. Who's going to be number 1 at the end of the day? Carter jumps to the inside. The inside line's been a little bit better today when it comes to determining who takes the lead. Thibodeau is going to be barely able to clear Carter, but not by much. That last lap was about 1/10 of a second. And he's now back on the back bumper of that number 87. Nemechek trying to get his way into 2nd. If they can just battle behind him, that's what Thibodeau wants. Thibodeau wants them to battle behind the leaders, so that when, the time comes to try to make a pass, there's too much competition for one spot instead of the number 1 spot. Coming on the final few laps of this race, 4 laps to go. Mitchell Carter, I'd say about 1/8 of a second behind. Carter jumps to the inside. Does he take the lead away? He could do it if Thibodeau doesn't clear him. Does he clear him? Yes, he does. 3 to go this time by. Thibodeau leads. The native of Lyon, France, currently in Houston, Texas. Trying to get his first win at any level. He almost made the Champions Lottery last year in Cup, but couldn't hang on to it. And almost did it without any wins, because he was just that consistent. Does he finally get his first win after a long streak? Doesn't even matter if it's the 2nd level. A win's a win. Winnie Calhoun up the outside. 2 to go. Ronnie Martin trying to get into that 2nd spot. And this is exactly the dissipation that these leaders, or I should say that Thibodeau specifically wants. Because if they can just stay battling behind him, he doesn't have to worry about him getting overtaken when there's not one guy battling for that position. But now they're 2 wide behind him. Thibodeau moves up the track. I don't think Martin's going to be able to... Yeah, Martin's going to be able to keep Thibodeau from clearing him. White flag, 1 more lap to go at the Hellmann's 200. Does Martin make one last gasp as Thibodeau's been confined to the outside line now? This will be a really close finish. Thibodeau getting a bit of a good run off of 2 on that outside line. Sasak jumping to the inside. Although that was a bit too much of a dive bomb. They're side by side. It looks like Thibodeau might be able to hold him off, and that's exactly what he will do. Jacob Thibodeau is your winner at Homestead. 7/100th of a second is what separates Jacob Thibodeau from Ronnie Martin, making his MSCECR debut. As the winless streak is finally snapped, and speaking of snapped, we have a car snapped around on the backstretch after the race is over, and Julio Cruz slams into Decumanes. A terrible crash to end the race after the checkered flag is flown. Gauge Martinez. Bad crash. as we'll take a look at the replay here after the checkered flag flew. Obviously, Thibodeau is the winner, but what happened between these cars on the back that caused such a hiccup? Let's see. I think it starts with... I don't know exactly where it starts, but I think it starts with the, the 6 car, or maybe the 23. Let's see. Yep, here comes Gage Martinez all the way up here, and here's Julio Cruz all the way back. Julio Cruz... Oh! Slams into Tony Shopek, and then look at Deku Manez, or not, slams into Greg. So they're sliding. And then while this is happening, Gage is in the grass. And then it looks like Dan Wilkins barely makes contact with him. And then here comes Julio Cruz. Oh, man. That is a hard hit. I mean, he's coming in. Here he is. He's starting to slow down. He's at 120 miles per hour. And when he makes contact, 80 miles an hour right there, and sends the back wheels off the ground of that number 47. Let's take a look from the hood of the number 36, as this is not a good way to end a race for any of these cars. He's trying to slow down, Oh, man, a hard hit. I'd like to see what this 47 looks like from his angle, and then we'll also take a look at the back angle as Julio Cruz slams into his rear. Right into him. And then as he's getting turned around, don, 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 don. Oh, man. Hard hit. But a lot of hurt feelings at the end of the race, but Deku Manez and Julio Cruz... That's really something. It really is something. And we're getting word that Julio Cruz went down to the number 47's pit stall and had a few words with him out of his car because he wasn't too happy with it. Yeah, the 47 car, Deku Manez, his pit stall is not that far away from where Cruz's is, because Cruz was at the front, and they had a few words after the race had ended, and it wasn't that pretty. So, with that being said, a lot of hurt feelings from Homestead, but I'll tell you whose feelings aren't hurt. Jacob Thibodeau finally gets his first career win at any level, and that is how we wrap it up from the first of the 2 Florida races, the Modern Stock Car East Coast Regional. Next up, we're heading out to Atlanta, Georgia for the running of the Aaron's 200, and the Cup level will be there as well for the final of the 3 races where the Cup schedule and the MSCECR schedule are aligned before they diverge in race number 4, where Cup goes to Watkins Glen and the ECR goes to Darlington for the Bojangles 250. This is Dan Wilkins signing off for now. Jacob Thibodeau takes home his first win. I'll see ya.